Anthony. So I thought it'd be great to obviously have this chat to talk about branding and marketing, because obviously they go hand in hand.
I think it's important. It's only going to get more important in the day and age of your branding.
Yeah.
Because I think people are becoming more aware of social media and more people are trying to sell online.
Yeah.
It's your branding that separates you.
100%.
And I think it for me, branding is an element of your personality.
Yeah.
And it can build a level of trust within a brand, within what you're trying to sell, and creates a consumer base that buy into you.
Yeah, so they're almost, you have to create those fans of your brand that, you know, are almost advertising for your brand themselves. So it's organic kind of reach on your brand. That's what I personally think, when you know you've made it kind of as a big brand, that you've got thousands of people hyping your brand up.
You've got advocates of your brand. And I think it's obviously that longevity and that loyalty that can be created from your branding can really gain you, if in terms of marketing sense, you get organic or cheaper sales somewhat, because your cost per action is a lot lower, because obviously they're engrossed in your brand and they want to buy for your brand. I think an example of someone who's does it amazing at the moment is like Molly May. No matter what Molly May does, no matter what Molly May wears, she's got a cult following and a cult army that will buy and wear anything.
And back her.
Do you know what I mean? I've seen her in a bin bag. And and people will buy that bin bag. And I think it's the way that she's probably the only one that I believe has created somewhat of a brand for herself outside of the Love Island gang.
But her brand is obviously personal branding, so which obviously has major leverage of being able to sell whatever you want, really, if people are buying into you, which is obviously, would you say that's kind of like a separate thing to I
think in terms of, it's separate in terms of personality, but I think in terms of the culture of buying and the culture of building a brand, the same way people buy into Molly May, people buy into a brand. That's the level of what you want to achieve. You want to say, if Apple, for example, the branding of Apple can release a phone probably one every day a week, and someone who bought on the first day will buy on the second day and the third day and because they want the new Apple product, and that's the level of branding that they've developed. And I think that in the same sense of Molly May, whatever Molly May wears, people want to buy it because Molly May's wearing it. People want to buy Apple products because Apple have delivered it. They might be, and it's mad to think, like Apple are still utilising Steve Jobs, who passed away, obviously, are still using his technology, because the way that they're doing it in the marketing sense is that they're drip feeding their products and their technology to us, because they know that they've got that level of consumers within the branding that people are going to buy it. But I think something that you touch on a little bit more within your teeth whitening brand is that how you build an element of trust with branding as well.
Yeah, I think that's where I think the visual aspect of your brand really comes into it, because if you've got an amateur looking logo, your consistency is all over the place with colour schemes, fonts. When they see you on social media, then they go to your website and it doesn't align with what connected them to your brand, that something's just not going to click, something's not going to feel right, and then they're going to come off. And that's something that I learned quite early on with LA. And it was kind of like, in the early stages, we were very much like black and white, clinical, just kept it really simple, which worked. But then I think there was a trend, and we noticed a lot of our consumers were females. And I just think within the cosmetic industry, like pink was really kind of coming in. The terminology that was starting to be used on social media, you know, like boss babe, like things like that. So the team obviously noticed that trend happening, and we kind of knew that we had to make that step because of who our target audience was. So that's when we very gradually incorporated like the pinks. We changed all the colour scheme within our website. It wasn't like a rebrand, but it was a change of direction in the colours and tone of voice to fit who we were targeting.
100%. I think you do have to be adaptable within your branding, and I think you have to be adaptable in no matter what you do within your marketing and when you're starting to develop your brand. You have to be adaptable. You have to understand what your consumers are wanting. You have to understand your target audience.
Yeah.
You have to become relatable, because, like you mentioned, I think people buy from people. People buy from brands, but they don't buy from a store.
Yeah.
So if you're only representing your store, you're only representing someone online, that's alien to them.
Yeah.
They don't want to buy from you. But if you can become familiar, if you can present, and again, colour scheme is massive and massively in psychology, the colour psychology behind it.
Yeah.
If you were to just solely use black and white, and I think white was your primary colour.
Yeah.
If you had it switched around, even though they're exactly the same colours of black and white, you then go to a dull website, you're not showing the shine of the white, you're not showing you're presenting more of like do you know what I mean, a disservice to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're teeth whitening. Whereas, like I said, if the contrast is the other way around, it's how someone perceives a colour level, and psychologically how that can affect them to change their mood.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're looking to like anything health related, you should always try and utilise a green or a blue.
Yeah.
Because green is that level of health, it's a level of nature. Blue is a level of recovery, calming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you wouldn't use red. Red's anger.
Yeah.
It can be excitement.
Yeah.
But if you're doing health, you want calming to benefits that way.
And using the right colours will then create that feeling straight away. Like you said, the feelings we want to create. That's why it is so important to get that right at an early
branding
stage.
is creating a feeling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you don't create a feeling, you don't have a level of attraction.
No.
And I think it's quite... The best way to present branding, and there's levels of branding, is that you can buy a water bottle from Netto, you can buy a water bottle from Aldi, from Marks and Spencer's, from Waitrose, from the gym, from a concert. So I think touching on like the emblem of branding, and obviously the different level of branding, is the wealth or the value you present your brand to be. So you can buy a bottle of water from Asda, from Marks and Spencer's, from Waitrose. The same bottle of water will be 3 different prices.
Yeah.
But it's the value of the brand that you show the wealth in. So you present a bottle of water, and I think so Asda might sell a bottle of water saying this is a bottle of water. Whereas Waitrose might say this is a bottle of water, it's going to hydrate you, it's H2O, it's got this in it, it's got that in it, it's got extra iron in it, it's going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Now that bottle of water, it'll do that at Asda, but Asda don't present it like that, so there's less value in it.
Yeah.
So it's how you, and I guess that's what separates you again, is how you add that level of value. You may sell the same dog product of someone else, you may sell the same product of clothing, but what value can you put into that brand, and then that level of trust that you build within the brand into your person as well.
I think as well, like you've said, with the value of the brand as well, and I think we touched on brand awareness as well. So using your target audience as an example of that, say for example, if it was you were targeting males that were interested in fitness with the bottle of water, if they then saw, a high-end fitness person with that bottle of water, you're creating the brand awareness, you're targeting the correct target audience, and then all of the males that, just for example, that are into fitness now want to buy that bottle of water because they've seen X drinking it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And that's like I said, it's influencer marketing and with the way you create branding and stuff like that, it does work really well. And you can do it amongst anything. You can do influencer marketing from footballers, you can do it from like people who go rock climbing and into caves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you can do it however you want. And develop it that way.
No, you can.
So like I said, the level of influence marketing is good. And like I said, but you do have to be knowledgeable on the engagement factor and knowledgeable on what type of person you are representing your brand. Do they hold the same value as you?
Yeah.
Are they the right audience for you? Because again, people might... Sometimes what you perceive online, someone might have 1 million followers, but their engagement might not be there for you. So it's what they perceive online.
Yeah.
So you do have to be aware of what they represent as a brand. Does that mirror what you represent as a brand?
Yeah. And I think as well, when you are creating a brand, is being so clear on who your target audience is.
Yeah.
So that then resonates your brand then resonates with your target audience, because you could be like, all the color palette totally the psychology of it on paper goes with what I'm trying to create. But if you're trying to kind of manipulate the product to make it seem more unique to a specific target audience, those colors might not work. So I think it is really, really important to have that at the forefront of who you're trying to talk to.
Yeah.
And the same with your ads as well, would you say?
100%. Yeah, I think I was going to touch on that. You touched on it earlier. You've got to be cognizant between what you represent on your social media, within a paid media, within organic, and what you do on your website. And that's down to what people do. Sometimes they get lazy and they won't use the same font. Your typography represents your brand. Are you a slick brand? Do you have an italic typography? Do you have like nice handwriting typography? What represents you as a brand? And I think people overlook it. I think people look as a brand as just logo and colours.
Definitely.
But the font that you use, the typography that you use, the tone of voice that you use, your branding is everything. And it's how you represent. So how do you want to be represented? Do you want that form of italic in your writing? If you do, that's got to be cognitive on your website. You've got to represent that on your organic, and you've got to represent that in your paid media. If the easiest way you're going to get caught out is if you don't have that. If you become lazy, you may not have it on one of them and stuff like that, because then people are wise to it. Because this day and age, people consume data so much and so quick that if there's a slightest chance, so the issue is that someone's always looking for a reason not to buy.
Yeah.
They're always looking for a reason not to buy. And if you're given that reason, such as like you've got different text on your image than what you do have in your website, they might not even psychologically realise it.
Yeah, they're not going to think, their typography isn't the same. It's just going to be a feeling that they have. Yeah. And then that's where their journey will then stop.
But then if you're not looking into that, you probably don't understand. You might go on Lucky Orange, you might go on heat maps on your website and go, okay, they're getting down to this image here, or they're getting down to here, and they're stopping here. But like I said, it's that in depth that your brand has got to be cognizant between what you do on every platform within that typography. You've got to be selective. You can have subtext, you can have subtypography and stuff like that. But again, they've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And I think branding is consistency.
Yeah. And when you come to white label as well, another thing, like I've seen people that are so consistent on all platforms, but then it's like they come to the exciting part of white labeling and then it's like they've reinvented the whole wheel, and you're like, again, and then that's when it is kind of like a recipe for disaster, because obviously you're excited about white labeling, but you then haven't carried that through because you've kind of created a new brand on the white label
100%.
product.
And I think, like I said, you said before about, obviously you introduced the pink colour into your LA teeth white and stuff like that. Is branding isn't a set level of structure.
Yeah.
No matter what marketing is, no matter what you do in life, you've got to be adaptable.
Yeah.
And you may not set out to have an older audience, but if you do have an older audience, don't just reinvent the wheel. Subtly change it. Do you know what I mean? Make sure that they're aware of it. Because if you do have people purchasing, if you do have people engaging, they're engaging for a reason. You may just need to adapt the terminology a little bit more. You might not use boss babe. If you have an older audience, stuff like that. If you start to see, okay, older people seem to be more engaging and more purchasing, stuff like that. Let me just slightly change some of the words I'm using. The way that I'm typing it, the humour that I use within my text stays the same.
Yeah.
Because that's my branding. That's the way that I want to be represented. I don't want to be taken somewhat seriously. I want them to have a humour. I want to have a little bit of a laugh about myself.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to use, the words I'm going to use, present it a little bit different.
And how would you say that you would incorporate like all of that into your first caption or your first hook into your ad? Because obviously those first couple of letters or sentence is what's gonna pull them in.
People buy on, or people with branding, people, whatever marketing, is all about emotion.
Yeah.
How can you make someone feel? How can you utilize the emotion? People, the biggest reason why someone buys is fear. But it's also a solution. So can you, within the text you're utilizing, can you offer a solution? So how can you, say with your teeth whitening products and stuff like that, you may not even ask them whether you got yellow teeth and stuff like that. You may say, do you enjoy your smile?
Yeah.
Do you have a beautiful smile? And then it's one of them ones where they think, oh, I like to smile. Do I have a nice smile? Oh, I might be able to wipe my teeth.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I think so you can play on the fear. You can play on, in this day and age as well, you can play on urgency. So whiten your teeth in 30 seconds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whiten teeth.
all
So
of those were big ones.
Convenient. It's convenient. How can you ease someone's life, but create a better persona for themselves? The personal how they present themselves personally. But bringing it back into branding is that it's the wording that you use. So you're not just going to say get whiter teeth in 30s. If you're a young female audience and your branding's like pretty colours, flowers, pinks, yellows and stuff like that, you're not just going to say get whiter teeth in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You're going to say achieve a boss smile. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just something like that. It's how you present yourself. Now, exactly as I said, the key call to action is get a smile in 30 minutes. But you're going to say something that's relatable to your audience. Mm-hmm. So why don't you slay within 30 minutes? You know what I mean? Like the word like trigger was like slay, boss.
Yeah.
Stuff
and
like that.
You wouldn't be targeting the older kind of consumers with that language.
Because it's like if you use the word, the one that obviously always confuses all people, if you use the word sick.
Yeah.
If you say, oh, that's sick, to them, they think, oh, it's a bit, why would I get that? Why would I buy that if it's sick? But to a younger audience, and probably more I don't know because I feel old saying it.
Yeah.
But if you use the word sick, the people know initially, oh, yeah, that's really good, that.
Yeah.
That's boss, that.
And it's also like the imagery and content that you put out. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I think I've seen it a lot in people's journeys where, say, for example, again, with LA, like a lot of the micro influencers that we used were like between 20 to about 35.
Yeah.
Consistently, all kind of had the same interests, cosmetic, makeup, love makeup tutorial. That was kind of our profile that generated the engagement with our target audience. But then if we put an ad out with something that didn't align with that,
so if you had like a male butch audience, you was doing sports
that would
and stuff like that,
completely throw people off. They'd obviously see LA Cosmetics at the top, but like you say, something would just be off where they'd just be like, I don't think they would think, who the hell is this male? But it just wouldn't feel right.
It wouldn't resonate with them.
Yeah.
So they don't associate as with his LA Cosmetics. So then you've lost that element of trust.
Yeah.
Because they're not familiar with, okay, that's not the right person.
Yeah.
Has something changed within LA Cosmetics? Has a product changed? Are they trying to? Then do you then open up the idea of questions?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm opening up the idea of questions and what happens this way.
Yeah.
And then the idea is, like I said, and going back to it, people are always looking for a reason not to purchase. The idea of your branding, you've got to be consistent, you've got to be cohesive from start to finish, is eradicate any small errors of where they can question your branding.
Yeah.
The branding is
trust.
I also
think a massive thing is like incorporating your customer service journey to your customers within your branding. So there's a lot of brands that are known for their customer service. Like, oh yeah, I always buy from there because, if I have a question, they email back straight away, or I can, you can actually call them. And again, that's a reason for people to then brag about your brand, or for you to then, for people to buy from you over another brand. So you can also really use that to leverage what you offer as well, and also increase prices because people will pay more because you offer great customer service as well,
100%.
Which I think people skip that part within their branding process. Like, how do we want our customer service journey to be?
Yeah, and it also in terms of marketing and marketing efficiency, if you have good branding, you're likely to have good customer longevity.
Yeah.
They're going to buy more than once, they're going to buy twice. And
they're going to recommend.
But then the way that you increase your sales and the way that your marketing becomes more efficient because you've got good branding is that your new acquisition cost, your new customer acquisition cost, maybe you're going to pay your cost per acquisition, you're going to pay a level, say you pay £10 for your acquisition for that new customer because they've never been related to you before. But if they have a good service, they have a good journey of buying from you, they like your brand, they buy into your brand, the second time that you may be able to utilize alternative marketing, you may be able to send an email for less than a penny, you may be able to send text for less than a penny. then your cost per action for that £10 for the person goes down to £5. Your customer value, they only bought a £20 product. That £20 for the lifetime value is now over £40. So you're making more money. So from branding being consistent, and like being bespoke to people, bespoke to you and bespoke to what you want to be, you've then become more efficient in marketing. You're then making more money as well. People buy from people.
Yeah.
People buy from your brand and not from who you're selling. You can buy clothing, you can buy anything from, there's probably not one product in the world that you're only solely selling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can't say, okay, Coca-Cola have rivals with Pepsi. Clothing, but you can go into the shop, you go into Primark, you go into any shopping retail centre, and 90% are selling clothes.
Yeah.
90% of them are all the same clothes.
Yeah, it's
but the
crazy,
reason why
isn't
you buy from them is because, okay, I'm going to buy from Primark because I trust Primark. I bought from Primark before.
And that's actually a really good point as well, because I think when you're deciding on where you want to place your brand and also determining your price points of your product as well, all of those factors have got to be incorporated into your brand. So if, like what you said, the water bottle example, if it is like a water bottle that you fill up, if you want to be a really premium back brand and sell your water bottle at like £30, but the going rate is 10, that premium feel, that, wanting to just have the bottle because I've got their business name on it, or I want to show people that I've spent £30 on this water bottle to, that's another thing that you really need to consider.
Branding's always been at the forefront of being a successful company.
Yeah.
But I think even more so now, in the future of branding is going to get more intense because the level of competition is getting more intense. The level of online marketing is getting more intense. And I think the next steps of branding is, if you are dropshipping, going to white label because you have that personal attraction of, okay, this is my product. That's required in terms of Amazon obviously has killed it for a lot of people because you have to do next day shipping.
Yeah.
So like I said, in terms of building a brand, you can start at dropshipping. You can be successful at dropshipping.
Yeah.
But to level up your branding, you've got to be white label it, because then you can be more bespoke with your packaging.
And I think it is people wanting to buy the product because it's got your brand on it, and understanding what is your brand about, what are they buying into.
100%, and it's the idea of people now join the family.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people's branding now is join the family.
Mm-hmm.
A brand is seen as a family, or you want to be seen as a family, because then that, again, branding is trust. How can you use your perception of increasing that level of trust, your typography, your color schemes, your psychology, your social media? Like the in-depth analysis of branding isn't just a logo and what it looks like.
No.
There's a level of psychology, and there's a level of, you want to be seen as their friend.
Yeah.
You want to be seen as a family member. Do you know what I mean? You want them to feel like they have a share in your business.
Yeah. And I think that trust naturally is going to come from brand awareness, which is understanding that does take time. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, there's a clothing brand that I like the look of. Now, like you said, I was like, oh, it's a bit expensive for a jumper. I don't know, I'll come back to it or whatever. Then I see Tammy's got the jumper on. Then I go to an event, a member's got the jumper on, and I'm like, that actually looks really good on them. Then I go and purchase it because I've seen two people that I know wearing it. But it would even be the same if it's like, on social media, you've been targeted on the ad, but then you might see a micro-influencer wearing it. But it's understanding that journey, that brand awareness is going to take time, but having a strategy to know that eventually you're going to have that awareness. People are going to be prompted to see your brand, see other people, then that's then going to prompt them to buy.
It's funny, you probably laugh, and people always laugh as well. They'll say you're looking to buy a new car or you're looking to buy a new jumper.
Yeah.
You want to realise people wearing it before you want it.
Yeah.
But unconsciously, your brain's then looking out for it a lot more often. Mm-hmm. Say you want to go buy a car and you've been looking at a Land Rover. Now, do you drive down the street and you think,
see it everywhere.
Why they've got Land Rover, they've got Land Rover. Because your brain then psychologically aware of it.
Yeah.
Like the brand as well, you might think, oh, it's a really exclusive brand. No one's got it.
Yeah.
Hang on, they've got it. They've got it. Like, do you know what I mean?
But
you look out for it a lot more. You're aware of it.
And also the reason why you need to stand out from the crowd, again, really resonate with your target audience, because once they click on that ad, you know what it's like. Once you see an ad and you engage with it, you then have all the competitors coming up for it as well. So that's why it's really important that they pick you over the competitors. Like you said, it's only getting more competitive now
100%.
with most of the niches. So,
but like I said, it's the value you add to your product is your brand.
Yeah.
Your brand, your product is a product until you put a brand towards it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that was a quote from like Nike or something like that. Nike was a pair of shoes is a pair of shoes until you put a person in them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a quote from like Michael Jordan, something like that. Like Air Jordans, they're a pair of shoes before you put Air Jordan in front of it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, a pair of shoes are a pair of shoes until your brand goes towards it. And then someone buys your brand. They're not buying it because they're a pair of shoes. Oh yeah, they might look very similar, but shoes are shoes. You can get them anywhere. But they're buying your brand.
I know, if you had like a pair of Jordans without the tick, without the branding on, no one would want to buy them.
There's no value. No, they're buying them because, and I think to speak a little bit about facts is that the year before Jordan went into Nike, they sold the largest grossing shoe was 3 million. The rookie year of Michael Jordan, they sold 142 million.
Wow.
So that's branding is everything.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, the power of branding is where you gain your results and where you're gonna, if you do feel there's a downfall in your marketing scheme, look into your branding. Is everything in line within branding? Is there anything you can do? Are you resonating with your audience? Are you building that element of trust?
Yeah, just making sure you're ticking all those boxes and staying consistent. And like what you said, if you want to then kind of upgrade from drop shipping, white labeling, establishing your brand is that next level.
100%. And I think that's probably perfect to leave it. And I think it's been a pleasure.
Definitely.
It's definitely been a pleasure. I think, like I said, we the conversations that we have are really good. And I learn something new every time I speak to you.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, thanks for having the conversation.
You too.